Hey guys, happy March Madness. It's Derek here, back with my fourth video. And this one's going to be a little different. I'm going to really just dive into basketball and just kind of riff on a few teams here and hopefully get some of you ready for maybe some different leagues or groups that you're in, trying to win this tourney. So the first team that I'm going to kind of talk about is the SMU Mustangs. Really solid team. They've been pretty prominent ever since Larry Brown went there to start coaching. And then last year they were not actually allowed in the tournament because of some NCAA violations. Um, but since Tim Jankovic took over, their program's really flourished. They've been doing super well, so watch out for them. Uh, I would say that they've got Elite Eight potential, and always the possibility that they may not make it out of the first round. You just never know this time of year. But moving on, the Arizona Wildcats. Man, Sean Miller is an amazing coach. There's a potential matchup between him and Mark Few, Gonzaga and Arizona in the Elite Eight, and they would both be playing for their first ever appearance in the Final Four. So I think that could be an amazing game. I believe that would be in San Jose. So look out for that. That'd be a lot of fun. But Arizona playing super well. There's not really a team out there that's as hot as the Wildcats are right now. They're super deep. Kobe Simmons, Parker Jackson Cartwright. They've got bigs, they've got guards. They can do it all. The one thing that kind of scares me with them is their defense is lax once in a while. But moving on, another really hot team going to the Big Ten, the Michigan Wolverines, playing tremendous basketball for John Beeline, and they're an athletic bunch. They can make things happen. They've got a couple studs. They just won the Big Ten tournament and really handed it to my Wisconsin Badgers. So um, I'd love to pick Oklahoma State to beat them in the first round. And Oklahoma State with Juwan Evans honestly has the talent and potential to win that game. But not only do I think Michigan can win that game, um, I think they could go on to I believe they would play Louisville, if I'm not mistaken, and then maybe Oregon. I could see Michigan making a little run here. You might see them match up with Kansas in the Elite Eight in that Midwest bracket. So Michigan Wolverines playing better than anybody in college basketball right now. Another team that is coming off a tournament win is the Iowa State Cyclones. This is a super gritty group of guys. They've got Monte Morris, who I think is going to be one of the best players in the tournament this year. He's a senior guard, makes things happen. His assist to turnover ratio is staggering. It's unheard of. So I always like to look at teams that have that solid guard play. So you got to look at a team like Iowa State. They got Matt Thomas, Mitru Long, I believe is how you pronounce his last name, Nazareth. They've just got a lot of playmakers, and they have the big lefty Deontay Burton, and he burned us. I'm a grad student here at KU. Iowa State is the first team in years to come in here and win at the Fieldhouse. They did that this year, so uh, they got to get past Purdue, but if they do, look out in the Sweet 16 when Kansas takes on Iowa State in Kansas City. That place is going to be rocking, and Kansas, they're going to have their work cut out for them with the Cyclones. So another team pretty close to here, Wichita State. They are coached by Greg Marshall. Fantastic program. They're also a really gritty group, and they make things happen on defense. They lost Fred Van Fleet, they lost Ron Baker, and they're still right in the thick of things. A lot of the experts think that they're possibly the best 10 seed this tournament's ever seen. They think that they kind of got shafted, but you know what? I think not only is Wichita State going to win their first game, I think they're going to upset Kentucky. I think that 10-2, and then they're going to have a tough game after that. So we'd have to wait and see. But I could see them getting out of the first weekend with 2 wins. Like I said, Greg Marshall, he has a really deep rotation, and they have Landy Shamat, I believe. He's a freshman, future All-American playmaker. So that's Wichita State. And then some of the other teams that I really am fond of, St. Mary's. St. Mary's actually has a 35% chance to make it to the Elite Eight. So that's winning the first 3 games. They're a 7 seed. Look out for St. Mary's. Super talented. They come out of the same conference as Gonzaga. So, they are a bit underrated. A lot of people kind of push aside teams from those conferences, but look out for St. Mary's. Gonzaga goes without saying, they lost 1 game all year. They're a 1 seed, and they can, without a doubt, make some noise. I think Arizona will ultimately take them down, but yeah, and honestly, West Virginia could take them down as well. West Virginia is another team that I really like. I was actually at the Allen Fieldhouse when West Virginia came here. Kansas came back. We were down 12 with about 2.5 minutes to go, and we forced overtime. Ended up winning in overtime. Best basketball game I have ever seen. Bob Huggins, future Hall of Famer, tremendous coach. They got a tall dude with long hair. He makes things happen. They got a guard who looks like he's 35, super solid. And yeah, I wouldn't want to face West Virginia in this tournament, that's for sure. Middle Tennessee State, Sweet 16. Minnesota, they got seeded 5th, even though the Badgers beat them in the regular season, went further in the tournament, and beat them twice when they matched up. Badgers are 8 seed, Minnesota's a 5 seed. Yes, I'm salty. Minnesota's going to lose to Middle Tennessee State. Middle Tennessee State could then beat Butler. I believe that would be their next matchup. Yep, Middle Tennessee State. I'm hot on them. Everybody else is, but sometimes you got to go with the flow. Wichita State is for real, as I mentioned before. Rhode Island over Creighton. I like that as an upset. Round 1, 11 over 6. I think a lot of people are pretty hot on that one. And then just to dive into a couple other teams before I let you go, Duke. It goes without saying, they've got Coach K. He's a legend, one of the best coaches of all time. But Kennard is a stud. He makes things happen. Grayson Allen is now coming off the bench, I believe, which is not fair. Hopefully he doesn't trip anybody. And if he does, hopefully he gets kicked out of the tournament. But they've also got that Tatum, and he's going to get drafted really high. So, yeah, Duke is playing really good basketball. I think they ultimately come out of that bracket. And I'm trying to think, that might be because Villanova. Yeah, I think Duke comes out of that bracket without a doubt. Really talented team, tremendous coach. I could talk about them all day. But moving on to Oregon. Oregon, a lot of people are down on them now. They lost their 7th man. He's a big. He averaged 10.7 rebounds, 2 blocks, something like that. I understand why. That's a big deal. You don't want to lose somebody who eats up a lot of minutes and is a big in the post, but Oregon's still stacked, man. They got Dylan Brooks. They're making things happen. They almost beat Arizona in that Pac-12 championship. Do not sleep on Oregon. I think Oregon ultimately loses to Kansas in the Elite Eight, but they could beat Kansas. Kansas could lose to Iowa State. Iowa State could lose to Purdue. You just never know. So don't discount Oregon. They're a really, really talented ball club. And I got to talk about Wisconsin. I'm from the Madison area. Love my boys, Nigel, Bronson, Ethan Happ, and can't forget Zach Showalter. He makes things happen. He's a big-time playmaker. He'll be all over the court. It's going to be tough against Virginia Tech and Buzz Williams, the former coach at Marquette, but I think we'll ultimately take care of them. And then Villanova is going to have a tough second game. I mean, the Badgers match up quite well with them. We can defend almost anybody in the nation. Ultimately, I think they're more talented. They're definitely better coach. Jay Wright is somebody I look up to as an aspiring coach. He's incredible. His fashion is unreal. And I love Greg Gard. Love you, Greg. But I don't think we can ultimately match up with Villanova. So Wisconsin could potentially win some games. They could surprise some people, but I'm also a homer and super biased, so maybe don't take that one to heart. And then last but not least, I got to throw it on. Now that I'm a Jayhawk, I do think this is Kansas's year. I've been saying it for quite a while since I was doing a lot of reading on Josh Jackson last summer and just been super excited about having a lottery pick like him be here the same time that I am, probably both here for a year. But man, when you talk about guard play in March Madness, Frank Mason, Devontae Graham, we got LeGerald Vick who comes off the bench. They're all three going to be guys who play in the NBA. They're disciplined, they're shooters, they can attack, and they can defend. So that's a nice core. We've got Jackson and Svi Makayu on the wings. You know, we've got Landon Lucas, who works harder than anybody that I've seen in college basketball down low. The only thing is we cannot get into foul trouble. We're really lacking bigs. We lost Azubuike about halfway through the year. I think he broke his wrist in practice. So we got Carlton Bragg, who's been a major disappointment coming off the bench. Maybe he can turn things around. If not, we got Dwight Colby, who transferred from Ole Miss. He might get some big minutes in March Madness, and I could see him really being the X factor, the guy who can kind of take us to that level that's going to help us reach new heights for Kansas basketball since 2008, last time they won that championship. But look out for Kansas. I don't think there's a better coach out there than Bill Self. And ultimately, I know the stats say that Gonzaga is the most likely to win, and UNC is up there too. You know, you see all this stuff. KU is the most likely number one seed to get knocked off. They always lose big games, but I think this is going to be a special year for KU. So maybe that could be the pick that gets you in the winnings. Um, yeah, I guess only time will tell. I could be wrong. They might lose their second game. So that's the beauty of it. I love March Madness. Been doing this since I was probably 10 years old and always look forward to this month. The last team I forgot. I know everybody loves themselves some Lonzo Ball. So I got this little clipping here. So maybe you're high on UCLA. I'm not. I don't know if it's my disdain for his father or what, but I hope UCLA loses early. I think they might. Wish Lonzo all the best in the NBA, but go Badgers, rock chalk, and thank you for watching this video.